What is good, everybody? We are live. Welcome into another edition of Major Push Wrestling here at the Papagino Network. I am your host, Papagino Nashef, joined today with a smaller panel. We've got the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ. How are you doing today, man?
Doing good, doing good. Always fun to come on here and talk professional wrestling with people. Enjoy talking with you when we're on the review together. Enjoyed my debut a couple weeks ago. Looking forward to doing it again, man. Let's see what we got going today.
Heck yeah, man. It was a pleasure to have you, and we look forward to many, many more. And shout out to everybody watching along, whether that's live or on demand after the fact. We are simulcasting this on Aaron Rift of NoDQ.com and the NoDQ Reviews personal channel. So shout out to the boss man, and shout out to the NoDQ Galaxy. Anybody who's watching here, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment in the live chat, and we will be addressing those comments here on the show. And we have, quick programming note: the No DQ review will be on tomorrow night on the No DQ channel at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we will be discussing the major topics that we have for wrestling as a whole, and I will be moderating that. So I'll see you guys all there. But for now, we are here. Ness Lover in the chat, not feeling so good right now. Sorry to hear that, man. I wonder if it's maybe a stomach thing or just kind of personal stuff. But we wish you all the best. And we're going to hopefully give you a fun, entertaining show to help take your mind off of whatever's not feeling good. And that's one of the things, JJ, that wrestling can do for us. It's almost an escapism from the real world. We get to have our feelings and our emotions and our thoughts about stuff that ultimately doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Right.
In professional wrestling, I mean, it does, but it doesn't. It's a good escape, and we all love professional wrestling, so we're going to get right into it. So today we've got one major topic for you guys, and that is what makes a star in professional wrestling in 2026, right? A lot of us, grew up with the Attitude Era or were in our teens throughout the Attitude Era, and there's just so many stars. A lot of the times people talk about that was the most star-studded roster of all time, though you could argue that today, especially in WWE, they might have their most talented roster of all time, but talent doesn't make you a star in this industry. In other sports and stuff, talent can absolutely make you a star. So shout out to Charles. He's in the chat. Says hello to us. What's up? We've got Ness here. A little too much liquor. That'll happen. And RDR2 Facts and Secrets says, what are we talking about? And we are talking about what makes a star in professional wrestling. We lost JJ. I believe we got him back here. There he is. Welcome back, JJ. Just threw up a few of the chats there. So yes, we're going to be talking about what makes a star in pro wrestling in 2026. Now, typically we focus heavily kind of on WWE, but we can address any of the wrestling. And I know that you watch the alternative viewing for wrestling more than I do. So I'll look forward to your opinions and discussing this. So the reason why I want to talk about this now, and I've kind of wanted to have made this a topic for the last couple of months, really, but Sami Zayn lost the the WWE title to CM Punk after 9 days, and I do believe that is solely because of Sami's lack of star power. You could argue he won it due to his pro star power in Saudi, but WWE clearly wants the star power for SummerSlam. And despite my disgruntled feelings towards the booking of Oba losing to Brock Lesnar in their second match, he seems to be a star. And we've got young people like Trick Williams, and they're saying the future's bright for guys like Javon Evans, Ricky Saints, Ethan Page, even though he's not a spring chicken, things like that. But at the end of the day, a star is needed to help get people into the building for your product or to get eyes on your events, right? We have only a few really superstars, right? The Vince McMahon term in all of wrestling right now. Roman Reigns, obviously. Brock Lesnar, obviously. Obafemi, he's like right there. I think this Hell in a Cell match, or Hate in the Crate, as I've heard people refer to it as, which I think is pretty funny. I think that match is really going to be the crowning of the true king of the ring, of the true king, and I really think that's going to be great for him. So they're doing good things with him. I just don't know if non-wrestling fans are like getting invested in him, right? He's not in movies, he's still new to all this. So that's kind of where I wanted to go into. So before I delve into my thoughts on kind of what makes a star, JJ, to you, when you think of a superstar or a star in professional wrestling, who are some names that I didn't include so far, and what kind of makes a star in professional wrestling?
Well, I'm going to start with the second half of the question. I think what makes a star in professional wrestling is a couple different things. You've got to check off certain boxes here. You've got to be good on the microphone. You've got to be able to talk people into the building at the end of the day. Because if you can talk people into the building, then you can sell tickets. And you got to make sure that you're drawing houses and selling out arenas. And in turn, selling merchandise. You've got to be able to move merchandise. You've got to be somebody that people want to represent on their body. You see me right now wearing a CM Punk t-shirt and a Game Changer Wrestling GCW hat. These are things that have sold themselves on me over the last couple of years. Punk I've been down with for almost like 20 years at this point. I'm buying Punk merchandise regardless, but I think those are key components of what makes a star. And then the last thing is relatability. I feel like this is the most underrated thing. I feel like a star has to be relatable to the common person attending a wrestling show. You look at a guy like Dusty Rhodes, and physically, Dusty should not be a top draw. Dusty was fat, out of shape. You compare a guy like Dusty Rhodes to a guy like Roman Reigns physically, there's no comparison here. But Dusty was a draw. He was able to talk people in the building. He was able to sell tickets. He was able to sell merch. And he was able to relate to people because he was that common man, that blue-collared, hardworking individual that we all strive to be out there in our day-to-day lives. So that connectivity, that relatability is what was able to make Dusty a superstar. You take Dusty Rhodes from the 70s and the 80s and you drop him into 2026 looking the way he did, he's a jobber at best. He's an opening match, second match on the card type of guy. He's not a main eventer. Love Dusty and the entire Rhodes family. Speaking facts here. As far as people that I think are stars, you named a bunch of people from WWE. To hop across the street to Jacksonville here, MJF.
Mm-hmm.
Maxwell Jacob Friedman, superstar. The look, the presentation, his mic ability, his drawing ability, his merch, he's in movies. There's just something there with MJF, whether you like him or you hate him. I feel like Kenny Omega's at the tail end of that. Hasn't really been the same since he came back from his diverticulitis, but he still has the mic ability, the drawing ability. People still want to see him in those top spots.
Anybody else?
I'll throw a name out there from the independent scene because I can't put this guy over enough. His name is Atticus Koger, and he is currently the GCW World Champion. Dude hasn't even hit his 30s yet, is pushing a year-long reign as champion, and just everything that he presents is next level for the independent scene. Like the video packages that he drops on his social media each and every week to promote his matches for that weekend are on par with the stuff that you could see on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday nights. I'm not bullshitting you guys. The video packages are that top tier. And for a kid under 30 grinding on the independents to have that good of a marketing ability to be able to present himself in a must-see TV type of way is something that I definitely gravitate towards.
And I like how you just put that, must see, right? I think no matter the era, a star inherently is must see. You could say even across other sports or other entertainment industries like movies and Hollywood and stuff like that, like stars are must see. Like in basketball, if LeBron James, your team might be trash, but if LeBron James comes to your city to play a game, that feels must see. Tiger Woods in golf, if he comes to a tournament near you, it's must see stuff. I mean, World Cup
Aaron
soccer.
Rodgers,
Aaron Rodgers. Exactly. I mean,
because I mean, if Kelsey's playing in your city, Taylor Swift may be up in the skybox.
Right, and that's why they get all that national. That their games are more likely to be on national TV than the
100.
competitor games, unless they're maybe not playing a super. But then she's probably not even there. But you've got all these types of people. You got Lionel Messi in the United States in the World Cup right now. Like, dude is an absolute star. Even Cristiano Ronaldo, who I don't think is nearly as good as Messi, and I think the stats speak for themselves. But to bring it back into wrestling, you mentioned that stars must be relatable, and you referenced Dusty Rhodes. Some of the modern guys who are kind of relatable, who I would believe are stars in wrestling, AJ Styles. Well, he's got that Southern accent, and you don't have to have a Southern accent to be relatable, but he feels like an everyman who's just great at his job. Kevin Owens, right? Guys like that who are stars, who are relatable. But on the contrast to that, for me, and I guess I've been hyper conditioned by the Vince McMahon style of professional wrestling stars. Like the look to me is super important. Like MJF had said in interviews past, like he had to put on weight. He couldn't let himself go. Like he has to look the part of a professional wrestler. And we have Uthman joining us here. Hi, Uthman. Let me just finish and we'll do an introduction to you. So you got to have that look, right? That look is something that larger than life, that unrelatability as well. So you could be a star and be relatable, but you could also be a star and even a mega star, like, guys like Roman Reigns, LA Knight. Uthman will be back, I'm sure. And Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes has been made a star, even though, he's not the biggest guy in the world, but the son of a plumber. And he's done great things. He's doing all of the media circuits. He's doing all of the interviews and all of that stuff. And to me, what you do outside of the wrestling bubble, to me, makes it determines whether you're a star or not. Like, I haven't seen one Obafemi interview. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's not that they aren't out there, but like that, I think, is something that he needs to be doing. The Good Morning Americas, the late night talk shows, the things like that. Like, obviously guys like Logan Paul are stars from that, and then it came in and adopted the wrestling. But Logan is a star. I wouldn't say he's must see right now, but when he's a champion, I think that's going to be must see television after he recovers. Now,
if I can real quick to piggyback onto something, I think the reason Oba hasn't done a ton of media interviews yet is because the last one I saw him do, him and Stephanie Vaquer were on an interview together, and it was around the time he was about to be fighting Miles Bourne. And he said something kind of snarky off the cuff during the interview about he's going to destroy her boyfriend. And I don't think at the time it was widely known that Stephanie Vicaire and Miles Bourne were a thing yet. So I think that may be part of why he hasn't done a whole lot of interviews since coming up to the main roster, is they may be trying to train him and condition him on what to and not to say when you're in those type of surroundings. Because while me as a fan, especially a guy that watches NXT religiously, knew Miles and Stephanie were together, there's a lot of people out there that don't click, don't scroll. Our good buddy Noah Foster stays off social media for the most part. He doesn't know that type of stuff unless me or Virtue or Aaron or whoever brings that to him, right? So there's a lot of people that didn't know about that. So for something like that to be spilled in a public venue like that, I think maybe part of why he hasn't done so many interviews.
Okay. See, I didn't know that. So this is why I love doing this with other people, because we're able to pool our knowledge and our resources to give you guys the most informed talk show possible, other than the No DQ review, of course. But we want to make sure that our topics that we discuss, we have the information that we can do. So yeah, and to piggyback on piggybacking, I feel like they really want him to be the next Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar didn't do a whole bunch of interviews, but he was made a star through his work in the ring, through his brutality, through his presentation, and it just kind of became undeniable, to use a Cody Rhodes term. Now, I would hope that that we do sort of get some things like that, because the more exposure to the outside world, the more that you want that non-wrestling fans and maybe casual wrestling fans want to tune in for, I think could help, right? Like same thing with promoting a movie, for example. Avengers Endgame, we all know that's one of the greatest culminations to a story of all time. People have said they didn't need to do any marketing for Avengers Endgame, but they put the most money into the marketing that they have ever had, and it's like the top 2 or 3 highest grossing films of all time, because they're not silly. They know you have to still market things and try and reach as many people as you can. And that's one of the good things about the ESPN partnership, is now people who are inherently interested in sports and athleticism are going to be now having commercials. Like I would watch ESPN all throughout the early aughts and the 2010s, and they might discuss it on one of the topics on one of their talk shows, like one tiny thing, but now we're getting commercials, and I think that is inherently better for wrestling. Now, to go back to the star making thing, like Roman Reigns is in movies. The Hulk Hogan kind of started it. He was in movies, but he was like kind of one of those larger than life presences, and then he went to The Rock, Batista, Goldberg was in movies. Great Khali, that the Longest Yard movie, Stone Cold was in movies.
Your
all
boy
of these
John
types
Cena.
of things. And like we cannot forever forget, and we will never forget, John Cena and all the amazing things that he's done in the Hollywood world and beyond. Now MJF is now in that category, right? And because he is in movies, he's now getting interviewed on red carpets. He's being seen with Adam Sandler. People are like, who is this guy? And they're able to potentially check out. And I think that's great for AEW, right? Mm-hmm. And all of these types of things. But you're wearing one of the prime examples of what makes a star. And as much as everybody wants to hoo-hoo and hum-hum about merch sales and this and that, like it does matter. Like if people want to shell out the now $40 for an adult shirt for something, that shows that they care, right? Sometimes it can just be a cool shirt, a cool design, a cool fit, like Unchosen from LA Knight, like things like that where you can wear it every day. But to have something that's very clearly a wrestling shirt, like you have to be a star if you want people to be buying your stuff. Look at Danhausen. He's a star almost despite his booking in WWE. And that's another thing I wanted to address. Booking, right? I think booking matters. You say win, not you, but it's said out there that wins and losses don't matter, even though AEW likes to tout that they do matter, because they do. Like, at the end of the day, one of the reasons why I was upset that the Obo was going to lose to Brock and lost to Brock, because it matters. You want to present him as unbeatable. Now they're using that into the storyline, so it kind of corrects it. But like, thank goodness they're not going to bring up, and they haven't had Ricky Saint say that he's beaten Oba in the past, things like that. Like, that just doesn't work when it comes to, okay, well, if he's losing to this guy, you can throw into the front row. Kind of like what Goldberg says, like, why am I losing to guys I could throw in the front row? Now he can't throw Brock Lesnar into the front row by any means, even though he's a world-class shot putter, or at least national class, however you say collegiate. But that is how you make a stop. Trick Williams and presentation, right? Everybody likes to complain, and when I say everybody, it's obviously hyperbole, but everybody likes to complain about how long the entrances take and all this stuff. But that is, the entrances are presentation, and it shows you whether this person should be or should not be taken seriously, or it kind of gives you a warm transfer into what you might get with that person, which is why I used to love when the Titantrons displayed their character like Stone Cold. It's like he's screaming, it's rattlesnakes, it's stunners. It shows you kind of a little bit of what you're going to get with somebody. Now it's just their name, because I don't think the people in the audience oftentimes know who's potentially coming out, or if you're watching on TV, oh, well, who is that? Oh, okay, you can see the name. I understand a little bit why they might be doing that, but like, and even with Trick Williams, at least they're making a spectacle out of his name, and all of those types of things. Obviously, you've got to be able to talk on the mic. I think even more so than go in the ring. And I know that might be a hot take for some people, but sometimes people don't want to see a 25-minute banger. They want to see somebody who looks like a superhero do superhuman things. And that's why my dog Super Cena was so over, despite people thinking he wasn't putting other people over. The dude was the champion 17 times, which means he lost it 17 times. Yeah. So that means there were 17 other people that he put over. He actually put over AJ Styles. And having people lose to you and you beating people also matters, which is why Oba beating Brock was so crucial at WrestleMania, and that was on the free TV. And it looks like he's on the way to stardom. But somebody said something that really kind of made me think, but also kind of upset me. It was like, WWE doesn't want people that are going to be bigger than the company. They want the company to be the star. And like, I get that from like certain business avenues, that like is a smart way to look at things. But Roman Reigns is a star, and CM Punk is a star. They transcend the WWE. Even though CM Punk went to AEW, I don't think they ever want Roman Reigns to do that. And they certainly didn't want AJ Styles to do that, which is why they put him in the Hall of Fame right away. All of these types of things. But inherently, a rising tide raises all ships. If you've got somebody who's transcending your company, but still within your company, you stand to benefit. And I think back to when Lil Wayne was interviewed back in like 2011 or so. He was asked a question. He's like, how do you feel about Drake being like more popular or a bigger star than you? Well, Drake works for me. So if he's a big star, I make everything he does, I make money off of. The same thing applies to WWE. If your stars are big stars, you're making money off them. They're not selling the individual shirts on Etsy and doing this types of stuff. The money comes through you. So it almost seems like simple money-making ideas, they're almost penny wise to be dollar foolish in some regards. We got Uthman here, kind of here. Uthman, can you hear us? Okay, well, we'll try to get Uthman's thoughts on this for sure going into. Now, we have talked in the past on this show, JJ, about who might be the future, or one person that is a future star in the industry. And, MJF had come up. Obviously, Oba had come up. the idea that Braun Breaker might be in that discussion or Dominic Mysterio might be in that discussion, but those two names have since cooled off. You can talk about injuries or whatever, but at the end of the day, the booking is what is preventing them from being able to ascend. And again, another thing from the past, WWE seems to not want people to ascend too quickly because it's like gets in their head or something like that. Like, you mean to tell me a second generation wrestler who has two, I think they're in the Hall of Fame, family members, that you have to worry about his head getting too big and him, like, I mean, I get it, his head can be big, but like, he's not like going to go leave the company or do something like egregious. Like, these guys are born and bred in the industry. Like, it just feels like they're not doing it right. But now I think Braun made himself a star with that bloody one shot in the match against Seth Rollins. But then here, okay, now he's the tag team champion. Okay. Kind of a step back, if you ask me. But at the end of the day, hopefully he can come up. I just want him to take badass off of his gear. Just be badass. Don't show me badass. The speed limit, 23 miles an hour. Okay. I'll meet you in the middle and say that that's not a problem. But just be badass. You don't have to say it. Like, people don't have to say, I'm a nice guy. You just are or you aren't. Like, it doesn't have to be said. And speaking of nice guys, other than JJ, of course, we have Uthman here. Uthman, can you hear us?
Can hear you fine. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing very well. Doing very well, Uthman. Thank you. So the topic is what makes a star in pro wrestling. You've been watching along, you're coming in and out, but I know you've heard kind of what we've said. Anything that comes to your mind when you read the question at first and when you hear what we've had to say about what makes a star and almost how to make a star in wrestling as a whole?
Overall, to compare let's talk WWE for now. Honestly, I don't know, because it just feels like I've been complaining about this in our chats and talking with people and all that. It just seems that WWE wants to control the narrative, so you can have someone as blazing hot right now as all of us believe Oba is right now the in thing right now. He's the new beast, the new guy. But look what they're doing with his storyline. So you can have a volcanic guy that the fans are crazy about, whether it be a face or a heel. Braun Breaker, when he made his way to the main roster, all of us thought they were going to strap the rocket on him. But then, well, what happened? He turned on Seth on the Vision, and then, well, unfortunately, then he got hurt. And the fans were clearly behind him. So to answer that question, what makes a star? You could say personality, his ring gear, their ring gear, the entrance music, their attitude, the character they're playing. Anything anybody wants to come up to answer that question, you won't be wrong. But unfortunately, I've noticed lately that WWE wants to control the narrative on who they say is going to be the top star, or most importantly, when the next one coming up will become the next one. So the best example I can think of is Oba. We were all behind him to win the King of the Ring. He won it, but then what happened the week after? He postponed his title match to get the thing out of the way with Brock. Okay. Will the fans still be hot for Oba by the time he finally cashes in his title opportunity? Hopefully, but then you look at someone like LA Knight. Somehow, this poor schmuck is still over. The fans still do the LA Knight chant for him, and he's still over. But where is his push going? Clearly, the fans are behind him. I think back to poor old Zack Ryder way back in the day. He got himself over. The Machine was not behind him, and it felt like the Machine had to respond like, well, okay, if the fans are digging Ryder. For some reason, Ryder connected with the crowd. He had his Long Island Iced Tea show on YouTube. I thought it was freaking hilarious. If it's still up there, go check it out. I don't know if it is or not anymore. So there you had a guy who really wasn't supposed to be a star, becoming a star. Now, I'm not saying put the WWE title on him, but give him a push. And it felt like, and again, he had Madison Square Garden chanting his name, and The Rock had to acknowledge him. And it's like, that's like a big point to the finger of WWE. Like, look, this guy is on fire. He is a star in the making. Again, don't put the title on him, but use him. And then we go back to, again, even though there's a new guard there, there's a new administration. Let's look at the old administration. I've mentioned this plenty of times. The Lex Luger thing in '93. Vince wanted, for reasons unknown, the new American hero to defeat the evil foreigner. Well, he had Brett right there. Brett, even though he's Canadian, he's half American. His mom was born in America. Why couldn't he be the hero? Nope, had to be Lex Luger. The fans were buying it. We go to SummerSlam '93. He wins by DQ. Okay. Then we have the Royal Rumble ending. We have Luger and Brett get eliminated at the same time. Luger's arm gets raised in the air. Brett's arm gets raised in the air, an explosion. So the fans can dictate what we want as a superhero, as the next big thing. The question is, will the company follow us? And again, I feel after Luger and Brett, but most importantly, after Bryan in WrestleMania 30, Punk, and just all these other things, I just feel like this new administration wants to control the narrative, and they want to hear us like, all right, you guys like this guy? Sure. But he'll get a push when we say so. Keep cheering him on, but eventually the fans are going to give up. So I hope that doesn't happen for Oba. The fans, we're all behind him. We were all cheering for him. We all wanted him to win the King of the Ring. They put a halt on it. All right, let's get this Brock Lesnar thing out of the way. But will they even acknowledge that he has a title match? They kind of brushed it off. Now they're all focused on, trying to get the SummerSlam more tickets sold. You got Punk now the champion. So it seems like it doesn't really matter what we want as a big star. The question is, will the company listen to us? If we say we're behind this guy or we're behind this girl, will the company listen? And then by the time they do give them that big push, will we even care? Then the company could be like, see, had we pushed them when you wanted him, they would have gotten it over. But we're sitting here going like, no, if you would have pushed them back then, they would have been volcanic and strapped the racket to it. So it's basically the fans versus the machine. And again, whoever we get behind, clearly we like them. Hopefully the machine will get behind them. But it's a battle between the little guys and the big guys.
And I really like that you addressed those things, because I wanted to emphasize that, like, pull the trigger on these guys. Even if you think they're going to be flash in the pans, at least get something from them, right? Like, LA Knight's been hot for years now, and Sami Zayn was just made the WWE champion, but he's been past his peak of like heat since last year. Like, last year probably would have been the time to do that, but they have plans in place. And like we know from WWE Unreal, Triple H has a destination, and sometimes they make good things like giving Drew the title for a little bit or taking the title off of Cody here recently, but it's all going to come right back around. When I think of missed opportunities to pull the trigger on people, no bigger name comes to my mind than he who shall not be named, but I'm going to say it. Hopefully I don't get banned. Ryback. He was as over as you could possibly be, and then they put him in the Hell in a Cell or a cage match. I think it was Hell in a Cell with CM Punk, but their plan was for Punk to have the title all the way until his match with The Rock and do his 343 days. And that was their plan. Then don't book yourself into a corner where you have somebody like Brad Maddox getting involved to have him lose. It's like you killed all this guy's momentum. And we mentioned LA Knight, Sami Zayn, and there are other. I mean, dude, look what they did as recently with Trick Williams and the Gingerbread Man, like, and kind of still keeping him like a heel character. Like, people want to cheer this guy. Like, and I know Vince used to be like, well, sometimes the fans don't know what they want, but at the end of the day, his philosophy was always send the fans home happy, even if it meant a dark match after a big show, so that people could like be happy. And like, we are the ones that are going to be investing in these characters. We're the ones that are going to be buying their merch, wanting to buy tickets to these events. Like, no shade on Liv, who is a star, no shade on Io, who is a star, but like, we just had that match. That match isn't going to get people in the door at SummerSlam, and you got 2 nights. Like, we literally just had that. Brock and Oba in a Hell in a Cell, or Hate in the Crate, again, as I heard recently, and love that. that is a main event. And if that match doesn't close down one of the nights, like, what are we doing? You can't just keep opening the show just because it's on the first hour of ESPN. Like, let people come seek it out.
I was going to say that. I don't know. I could be wrong, but has Oba been in the ESPN hour every PLE? I think he has been.
I think he has been, and honestly,
don't be shocked if he's in the ESPN hour at the SummerSlam. That cage, I can't see that cage going 15 minutes to be between those guys. It may go 10, and it may be in the free hour.
On it, and I hope that's not the case, and I also hope that this match does go longer. I can't see this match being shorter than 10 minutes personally. I think that would be horrible booking decision. Number one, you got to get this crate in a big ass stadium. Like, at least give us like a big long match with it, right? I don't think it's going to be a, finisher spam. I think there's going to be rolls to the outside, weapons, color, all of these types of things, and that's going to potentially give us another great Hell in a Cell match. If I recall correctly, we didn't have a Hell in a Cell match in 2025. Thankfully, because we've been complaining about having gimmick pay-per-views just for the sake of having the gimmick, and they have done away with Hell in a Cell as its own pay-per-view, PLE, however you want to say it, and now they're bringing it back to when it matters, right? Like the blow-off. Look at the last Hell in a Cell match was part of the feud of the year. I don't know if it was the best match of the year, but it was like one of the greatest Hell in a Cell matches of all time in Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. And I would be like, I guess I wouldn't be surprised, Uthman and JJ, because nothing surprises me about them not doing what I think they should do. But this match should go 20, 25 minutes, be a beatdown fight. Both guys are tired, like really show like intensity. Throw them through the cell, not the top, but like through the siding of the cell into the outside. Like, do this type of stuff. Like, that would be, I think, in their best interest. Like, I mean, we've had in a Hell in a Cell match in the past, CM Punk, he's actually ascended and climbed on top of the cell. Like, these are all things that are, again, WWE loves their moments. Like, how, like, that would be, imagine these two behemoths on top of the cell. And I'm not saying they should do that, but I would be freaking loving it if they did. But they don't necessarily need to for that match personally. But I really think that it would be doing them both a disservice, even though their matches have been relatively short and finisher spams, and we love, or finisher spams, excuse me, botch. We love that. But they can do that and still kind of have this playing with the food, because now it's personal, right? So there's no need to just end the match quickly. No need to get your win back. It's, I'm going to beat you down. I'm going to, taunt over you, those types of 80s bullies types of things. And I think that would be better for it. Now, if it's on the first hour, like, I think that shows confidence in ESPN, in Obafemi to be the next Brock Lesnar. But this match needs to close one of the nights. And does Oba need to win? Absolutely. And does he need to then go challenge for for the championship the next night? Well, it doesn't look like that's in the cards, and I'm glad, because of Hell in a Cell match with Brock Lesnar, you shouldn't just be able to. I mean, if anybody could walk it off and make him look like a badass, it would be Obafemi. But like, let it matter. Like, selling is a big thing, and that's what one of the things Brock is arguably the best at, is selling, and that also matters. So we talked about winning matches matters. You mentioned Uthman, winning championships matters. Now, obviously, winning the WWE Championship didn't make Sammy a star, but having former WWE champions on your roster ultimately bolsters their stock, right? If like LA Knight, there's just, if he doesn't have the title soon, like, I just don't understand, because people are buying his merch. And if you've ever been to a show recently, people are doing the LA Knight chants walking through the arena. If I say, with everybody saying, you're going to get everybody in that vicinity that can hear you saying LA Knight, yeah, like singing Seth Rollins' song walking through the venue. They're at least recognizing Oba, because they do the Oba strut cam. It's like a kiss cam, but it's, they start playing his music. That was what they did at Backlash when he wasn't on the show. and they're doing the strut and things like that. Like that, we talked about the presentation, we've talked about entrances, we talked about how being good on the mic is arguably more important than being super polished in the ring. Obviously, you can't be sloppy. Like, unfortunately, Sol Ruka has been sloppy in the ring, and I think that has hurt her and her stock, even though people are saying she's going to be a star. So all of these types of things can make a star, but at the end of the day, timing and booking can elevate somebody, and whether it can be kept is a whole nother story. And they must have sold a decent amount of that last real good guy undisputed champion shirts. Like, that's merch, that's money. Like, even if he's not a main eventer for a big four pay-per-view, even though he did main event night one of WrestleMania, however you want to look at that, with Kevin Owens against the Usos, but now you've got these things that you can use these pieces on your chessboard that have more value. You get your pawn to the end, and you evolve the piece essentially, and that's kind of super important. Now, we've got some people in the chat. It's old news and off topic, but Kevin Owens using the stunner is unoriginal. Considering he's a decent athlete, originality makes a pro star. I would agree with you on that. I've never really liked Kevin doing the Stone Cold Stunner, even though he's talked about asking Stone Cold for permission, and Stone Cold was shocked that nobody else has asked him to that point. And it just doesn't look right. I don't know. It just feels off with that, personally. But yeah, originality is key. Like, there are some times where, what's new is old and what's old is new, and you can come back around again with some of the same things. Like, I mean, hey, WWE's trying it. We've got the Bloodline. We've got Paul Heyman with Brock Lesnar again. We've got CM Punk and Roman Reigns as champions. Like, they're definitely going back to what they feel works, almost to a fault. And you really want to see these like refreshing originality, like with Raw. People are saying it's one of the best Raws of the year. Why? Because it didn't follow that cookie cutter AI script storytelling. It actually felt like an episode of television that tells its own story from start to finish while being part of a larger story. Like, think of Marvel movies. Like, each one of them is like an episode of television, but it has its own self-contained story. And the ones that rely too much on the outside, people are either divisive or people don't like. Like, look at Iron Man 2, look at Avengers Age of Ultron. At the time, it's getting its flowers now, but one segment after the other feels like Saturday Night Live almost, only they're not funny. I mean, Stanhausen stuff is funny for sure, but it's just sketch. But having this through line of what happens in the beginning of the show affects the middle of the show, affects the end of the show, the proof is in the pudding. Like, they used to want television writers to work for WWE. Now they're just, unfortunately, I hate to trash on Triple H, but I'm gonna, call him like I see it. It's just his buddies basically at this point. And it's not like people who are good at writing episodic stuff that has through lines and the to be continued and all that stuff. Aaron Rift here, shout out, says, good discussion, guys. Thank you very much, boss man. But yeah, thank you, Pat Ponce Jr., who sent that in. So yeah, guys, with that being said, we've talked kind of about a lot of the things that make a star, and I kind of summarized them a little bit earlier, but whether or not they have exposure outside of wrestling, like with the MJFs of the world, whether they're stars in their own country or city and things like that also do matter, but you really want it to be national. Now that WWE's on Netflix, it's international. You have to be an international star. Like, I saw this thing the other day. It was like John Cena, Ronaldo, and a few other people, and Michael Jackson. It's like, who's the biggest star of all time? It's Michael Jackson. He was worldwide. Like, it is what it is. Like, you have to have that star power, that must see, that people want to wait outside the building just to get a freaking glimpse of you or a picture of you walking, right? Like, all of these types of things. And to me, I know JJ might, kind of sees it a little bit differently. To me, that stature and size adds to the package. I mean, the Big Show, Great Khali is more followers than he's like more followers than The Rock, I think, or right below The Rock. Like these guys are stars, even if he could not go in the ring, but people are watching, buying their stuff, matches named after you, all these great things that can lead to future success. And at the end of the day, the success of the industry, I don't want to speak for you guys, but the success of the industry is what I feel is most important. And that means taking kind of a step back on, well, I don't want somebody too big for our company, because then we'll have to pay them actual money. So that's what it seems like. Oh, Sheamus is gone. Kofi is gone. Like guys who should have been lifers, because we want you guys to take pay cuts. Like, you mean to tell me that the top brass can't just not give themselves a raise? I'm not even saying they need to take pay cuts. They can't just not raise their salary by $1 million and spread that around to people who were interested in seeing. You mentioned Bret Hart, all these guys who have been stars throughout time. They've been able to go on the mic. They have influence outside and all these types of things. Now, JJ, you weren't here when we did our topic on who, like, if you had to like bet on one person to be a future of wrestling, who would you be picking right now?
You want me to pick someone that's already on the main roster or somebody down in NXT, just for clarification?
I would love wherever your mind went to with this question. It doesn't even have to be in WWE, but like the future of the industry, which unfortunately means they're probably going to have to go to WWE or at least AEW at some point. Sorry to put you on the spot there, buddy.
Yeah, and you've got me on the solo shot too, which I hate the solo shot thing.
Okay,
Personally, I've always hated when Aaron does it. That's why when I do shenanigans, I rarely ever give somebody a solo unless they're like on a diatribe, like a passionate rant. But
sure. I'm familiar with those for sure.
All right, I'm gonna try and do this in a couple of different levels, if I may. Mm-hmm. Main roster wise, I'm gonna go with Javon Evans.
Okay.
I just think that the kid is only like 21, 22. If he can avoid serious injury, he's got the style and the ability to be the next Jeff Hardy and just be on that level, as long as he can avoid demons and injury. Down in NXT, like the developmentals still scratching to get up, Kendall Gray, man. I don't know if you saw Great American Bash, but if you didn't, go back, watch that match with Lola Vice. Chick is the female Kurt Angle. And even Kurt has praised her for her technical ability. So coming from a man of that stature, Hall of Famer, Olympic gold medalist, if he sees it, we need to, like Roman Reigns, acknowledge her. It's all good, Aaron. You do what you need to do on your show, bro.
Watch, you're never gonna get a solo shot again.
Right. And
yeah,
again,
Kendall Gray.
To your point, you shouted him out. Shout out to the boss man, allowing us to broadcast on his personal channel and being here to support the chat. Appreciate that, sir. Outside of the WWE altogether, and this should surprise nobody, Izzy Moreno.
Izzy Moreno. Okay. And for those who are watching right now who might not know, where is she right now?
She's on the independent circuit. She bounces around all kinds of different federations. That's the great thing about the indies these days, as opposed to the territory days. Territory days, you are still locked into like one company for 6 months a year, however long your stint in the territory was, and then you moved. Indies these days, she can be working in Florida on Friday night. She can be in Texas on Saturday. She can be in Jersey on Sunday. Following week, she can be doing a show in California on Friday, New Mexico on Saturday, back up in Ohio on Sunday. Like, you just have to follow social medias. But Izzy Moreno is the little girl that was front row at Black and Gold NXT that idolized Bayley. She is now 19 years old, has been wrestling professionally for 2.5 years, maybe 3. And again, for a young girl, she just gets it. And I know WWE is keeping a close watch on her because she has participated in WWE ID tournaments, even though she has not officially been ID'd yet. So it's just a matter of time until the Fed comes knocking and we start seeing her on Evolve on a weekly basis, and then NXT, and then the main roster. And especially if Bayley sticks around after her contract expires, because she's been a part of both Lodestone camps that Bayley has ran. Because that connection with Bayley, like to be able to be brought in and mentored by Bayley now a couple of times a year, mentored by John Cena, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Lyra Valkyria, Becky Lynch. Like, she's under that umbrella. She's under that learning tree. And as long as she doesn't fuck up, doesn't give in to demons, stays healthy, man, what are we, 2026? By 2030, she's on the main roster. Maybe a hot take, but I've been following this girl since she won the Mission Pro Wrestling Championship, which is the company Thunder Rosa ran out of Texas. Unfortunately, that's folded up. Thunder Rosa doesn't promote it anymore. Sorry, Oof, your girl doesn't have her company anymore. I know that's your Thunder, but it is what it is. But yeah, I've been following Izzy ever since she beat Tiffany Nieves for that title. Tiffany Nieves is now the NWA Women's World Champion. She holds the Burke. So that just shows how far she's come since losing to Izzy. Say what you will about modern day NWA, but NWA is still one of the oldest promotions, in the US, with lineages that go back however many years you want to recognize. Like, it's a prestigious title, even if it's not on the level of the WWE women's titles anymore. So,
and speaking of the NWA, it looks like one of their longest reigning men's champions is going to be stepping back into the ring. And Nick Aldis, if I remember correctly, it looks like he's going to be doing something with Gunther, so gets the opportunity to show that he can go in the ring as well. So thank you so much. So did I see that Casa D18 Studios did an interview with her at some point? Is that correct?
With Tiffany Nieves, yes. We were supposed to do one with Izzy, but unfortunately that got canceled.
Okay. So yeah,
we did do one a little over a year ago with Tiffany Nieves before she won the title.
Wonderful. So when we go around and do our plugs, guys, make sure you go check those things out on JJ's channel. So yeah, I mean, this will bring us to kind of our final words here about this. At the end of the day, star, merch sales for sure, presentation, ability to go in the ring, keeping their nose clean is as the terminology would be, right? Not succumbing to demons or to getting into fights with people on the internet and things like that. But at the end of the day, I think mostly if you could pick one thing that makes a star, I firmly believe that it's booking. Like, if you don't have your own company behind you, how should we get behind you? It's almost like, and I know, it's a wrestling show, but we've been talking about movies and other entertainment. It's almost like when I hear a movie's going straight to streaming. It's like that tells me you don't have any belief in your movie that it can draw actual money, not just from somebody who's already subscribed to your channel and just presses play on the number one movie dropped, whatever. Like, if you don't have belief in your movie, why should I? Right? If you don't have belief in your talent, in your future stars, in your stars, why should I? WWE obviously believes in Roman Reigns and CM Punk, Brock Lesnar, seemingly Obafemi, Trick Williams, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan to some degree. And those people, and then it shows in the merch shill, it shows in the numbers that their YouTube videos and stuff do. It shows. And obviously guys like MJF and guys like Kenny Omega and hopefully Will Ospreay. It almost remains to be seen if AEW believes in Will Ospreay or not, because they've refused to give him the title. And even a star that we haven't talked about who hasn't been a world champion in her current company, Mercedes Moné. Like, these are people that your booking has to be like, give them the strap and see what they can do with it, and give them an honest shake. And that comes down to, again, the basis of our topic was Sammy, 9 days. He's just not a star. But at the end of the day, I'd rather him have gotten it at some point in his career than never, ever having it, because history is, and people say not everybody needs the championship, but like, we talked about the Attitude Era. They had a lot of stars because a great number of them held the big strap at one point or another, even if it was for a cup of coffee, right? Like, that is important to some degree. I do believe that the person makes the title and the title doesn't make the person, but there is some synergy with that. So we're going to go around here. Does anybody have anything they would like to add? Yes, JJ.
You mentioned the booking, and while I don't disagree with you,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of counter that, I think part of the problem these days, not to open up a whole other door, maybe we can kind of save this for next week, but the rosters are just too deep. There's too many people in WWE contracted for 4 hours of TV. Even if you make it 5, because SmackDown bounces back and forth between if it's 2 or 3 hours. Like, there's too many people to try to book properly and push properly across those hours of TV. One of the things that the Attitude Era had in its benefit is, while it did have all those stars, and it did have 2 and then 4 hours when SmackDown came on, 5 if you counted Heat, 6 if you counted Velocity Jacked, So you're running about 6 hours of TV a week. Their rosters still weren't that deep, nowhere near the extent that it is today. That's why guys like Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara were able to find places to put everybody on the roster over the TV of the week. Even if it was just a backstage segment with something, you would see your Kyan Ties, you would see your Steve Blackmans, you would see your Drawses. You may not get a match out of them every week, or you may have to wait for Jacked and Velocity and those type of shows. But on Raw and SmackDown, you would still see them featured because the rosters weren't as deep. Now you've got rosters that are pushing 150, 200 people, and it's just too hard to try to book them all in 4.5, 5 hours of television. So while the booking needs to be better in getting the stars over, you've also got to reduce some of that talent. And nobody ever wishes for people to lose their jobs. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying, oh my God, the world would be a better place if half the roster got cut, Thanos style, just out of existence. But if you took a third of that roster away and threw them on the independents, and the same for AEW, just so that I'm not, one over the other. Took about a third of the AEW roster, just released them to the independents, both companies would have better television.
I agree with that. Again, the talent is, the talent in the roster, the talent on the roster is better now than it was, but back then had more stars. And while you were saying that, it just reminded me, like, Chris Jericho. WCW didn't see him as a star, and then he ends up beating Stone Cold and The Rock in the same night. And yes, he has to put in the work. He has to do the promos. He has to do the matches. He has to deliver as he has and be able to evolve with originality, like one of those, Pat said in the comments. And now look at him. You get, like, when it, maybe don't look at him right now, but when it's all said and done, I mean, if somebody told me they think Chris Jericho is top 10, top 5 all time, like, I'm not sitting here like crapping all over that thought. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I mean, to your
we all
point,
have
WCW thought he wasn't a star. His debut interrupted The Rock, and he went toe to toe with The Rock on the microphone. What did that say about WWF's belief in him?
Mhm.
Wait,
Forget about
Jer-
beating The Rock in Austin in one night. His debut was going toe to toe with The Rock.
Mhm.
Jer-
And same with
Jericho
Kevin
beat
Owens
Jericho beat the Rock and Austin on the same night.
for
Really?
the for the
Vincenzo
both
won
belts.
to
Yeah,
become the original undisputed champion.
Funny,
we
he
had
never
both
mentioned it that
titles.
much. He never mentioned him that much.
Oh, you son of
Oh,
a
here we
gun!
go. Okay.
You son of my
You
gun!
sucked me in.
What does
Sucked me
Santino
in.
Morella say? You son of my gun, John
Mhm.
Son of a
Cena.
gun. John
Yeah,
Cena.
Kevin Owens debuted against John Cena. Like Oba technically debuted against Cody. Like these are again, it's how you do it. And maybe he should have beat Cody since it wasn't for the title. But either way, hopefully they make good choices. We wrestling is a very much what have you done for me lately industry, and lately Raw was the best Raw probably of the year, and hopefully we're going to have a good show coming up. So hopefully they're showing that they can learn from these potentially mistakes. AEW, I really hope MJF retains tonight. We'll have to see what's going on with that. And either way, we'll be discussing if MJF loses the title, we will be discussing that tomorrow on the review. So stay tuned for that. So I'm going to throw it around now, guys. We'll do our plugs. Oofman, I know we had a little bit of the difficulty, but we appreciate you being able to right the ship and get back with us. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, again, gentlemen, thank you so much for having me. And just want to add what I said before, because I'm sure someone's thinking about it. Back when I brought up the whole Lex Luger and the 90s thing, back then, the WWF at the time relied on the fans' opinions. They needed to survive because if they would screw up a booking, we're talking about booking matters, and it does. If they would have somehow messed that up and not listened to the fans, they depended on the fans' money for tickets, merch to survive. Now with the multi-million, billion-dollar contracts, it goes to what I was saying, where WWE wants to control the narrative, and they say, nope, we're going to push this person now. And again, they don't, well, like you said, Gino, they can't take the chance because they already got the contracts from Netflix, from Peacock. What is there to lose? Really, nothing. Back then, there was a gamble. Should we push this guy? Should we not? What if Vince McMahon did push Luger? Let's say it was WrestleMania 10 and he walks out with the title. What would have happened with Owen? What would have happened with the company? Would the crowd explode in cheerfulness when Brett won it? So back then, it was a whole completely different beast. And nowadays, the company will book who they want, when they want. And even though the fans will get behind A, B, or C, but if they say, no, D, E, and F are our thing, we just got to sit back and go, all right, cool, and hope that Oba, to a lesser extent, Braun Breaker, and even LA Knight, hopefully they stay strong enough, popular enough that hopefully one day they'll go, you know what, all right, now let's put the strap on them. But for LA Knight, I hope that is the case. If they ever do put the strap on him, that when they do, the place explodes, or at least the fans will support him. But how much longer can he hold his momentum? I don't know. But again, thank you guys so much for having me. Check me out here on YouTube, Wolfman Entertainment. I just concluded my little trilogy celebrating the 30th anniversary of the NWO. I have 3 parts up there. For those of you who've seen it, parts 1 and 2 are pushing 200 views. So to all of you guys, thank you so much. Check out part 3. I did it live yesterday. Yesterday was it, July 7th, when the ultimate heel turn was done. Hulk Hogan turned his back on the world and became Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and what became one of the greatest stables of all time, depending on your rankings. The NWO was born 30 years ago yesterday. So me and Dave Scheffler, shout out to Dave, he's at AEW right now. We compared it, how life was 30 years ago from then and now. It tends to be repeating a little bit, but we want that excitement. JJ mentioned it, the Attitude Era. We would love that must-see TV where the shows end on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and we're looking forward to the next week. But where did that go? So yeah, so check that out on there. You see the handsome devil himself on there with me, talking MJ, talking wrestling. So a bunch of other things are there. But again, guys, thank you so much for having me. Check out JJ's channel as well. He does some great stuff too. And so, like me and Dave mentioned, we have all these channels, and we give a big salute to the boss, Aaron himself. We're just guys that like to talk wrestling, pop culture, movies, music. That's the awesome part of the internet, the good side of the internet, bring us all together to have these discussions.
Absolutely, Ufman. And thank you so much for joining us. And again, shout out to the boss man. But you mentioned JJ. JJ, where can the people find you and all the wonderful work that you do?
Well, I am the unofficial leader of the Simply Reliable Studios. You can follow us on X at SR Studios 2024. From there, you can find all of our different various social media channels. YouTube for me is Casa D18 Studios. You know, Gino kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. You can find us doing watch along coverage. You can find us doing interviews. You can find us doing our own weekly episodic talk show called the Saturday Shenanigans. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like the No DQ review, just a lot more foul language and a lot longer. You know, this and the review are pretty streamlined, usually out of here within an hour, hour and a half. Shenanigans, it's not unlike it to go 3 hours, 4 hours, you know. But it's a fun time. It's our way to de-stress at the end of the week. So yeah, just follow the Simply Reliable Studios on X. Follow Casa D18 Studios on YouTube and check out all our stuff. We actually have right now a watch along going for AEW Dynamite. So once we wrap up here, I'm probably going to pop backstage there and help Noah with producing that up. So thank you for having me, Gino. Always a pleasure to come here. I honestly feel kind of like the No DQ Galaxy, and we made a comparison to Marvel earlier. I feel like the No DQ Galaxy is very much like the Avengers. You know, we've all got our different brands that we represent, you know, Major Push, Ufman Entertainment, Simply Reliable Studios. You got No DQ. You've got, you know, Walter with the Rage of Wrestling. You've got all these different brands within the No DQ Galaxy, and we all come together, you know, once a week in some form, like the Avengers, and assemble, whether it's here on the Major Push podcast or the No DQ review or even the Saturday Shenanigans.
I call dibs on Captain America.
And the Simply Reliable Studios is another partner with Boss Man Rift's personal channel, you know. Our pay-per-view watch loans for WWE, AEW, and TNA go across that channel. Our interviews go across that channel. Last night we did an interview with Dragon Kai, who are challenging for the Pro Wrestling Symphony Tag Team Championships this Saturday in Tennessee. And then Shenanigans also goes across that channel every week. So again, shout out to Bossman Rift for allowing us to be partners. Gino, I know you appreciate it as well. Oof, I'm not sure if you put stuff on Aaron's channel yet, or
I have, yeah. Just a week ago or 2 weeks ago, Aaron put me on there, and so last night's live episode went up there on Aaron's channel. So yeah, so major props to the boss over there.
And if you talk to Jeff Meacham, who's known Aaron going on 25 years, never in his wildest dreams did he think Aaron would open up his channel for other people to be streaming on like this. So again, just a huge thank you to Bossman Rift.
Absolutely. And it's a testament to the fellow Avengers with the content that we bring and our opinions that he would feel comfortable allowing us to do this. And yes, big shout out to Aaron. And if you're watching on his channel, whatever channel you're watching this video on right now, give it a like. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. You'd be surprised how many videos you watch on YouTube because the algorithm knows you're trying to watch it, but you're not actually subscribed to them. Takes 2 seconds. And my little catchphrase with that is it's fun and it's free. It really is. And it means the world, and it allows us to continue to bring more content. So whether you're watching on Aaron's channel, go check out Ufman or JJ. Whether you're watching on my channel, go check out Ufman, JJ, or Aaron. And if you were looking for me, guys, and you're not watching on my channel already, just go onto YouTube, type Papa Gino 0017. We are going to rebrand that to something differently, but that is where you can find me right now. And we look forward to continuing to bring all this content. So shout out to everybody. I would actually be at AEW right now if I was at home in Florida, because I live like I could like hop, skip, and jump from the arena. So shout out to Dave for being there, and thank you guys so much for joining us. So from JJ, from Oofman to Aaron, all the No DQ Galaxy Avengers. Noah, we do a lot of stuff with him. I was actually on JJ's show doing an interview for Jack Cartwheel. Shout out to that dude. He's freaking awesome. And yeah, dude, all these great things. Don't forget to comment in the comment section when you're watching this on demand, guys, and we will address all of that. And we will see you next week. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.